Hello and welcome to my channel. I want to start this off by saying I'm a pretty skeptical person, and I always try to put logic to use and avoid cognitive bias. And cognitive bias can be a detriment, especially in such a niche field as the paranormal and the unexplained. And in the search for truth or accuracies depends wholly on having an open mind altogether. It's one thing to be open to these things, it's another to be susceptible to disinformation or just somebody telling you a lie. But for the most part, in my experience and what I've read and what people have told me, besides my own experiences, is that people don't have a good enough reason to lie about these things. So it's really intriguing to me to hear some of the lesser known stories that people are willing to speak out about, and some of them have been harbored for years due to the potential of losing their job or rank or social status, what have you. So with that being said, I would like to convey my personal experiences and experiences that I've heard from credible people, and I know that these aren't recorded anywhere, so it's kind of original content, and I feel like it could be shared to help assemble this grand puzzle of puzzles. So grab a snack and let's begin. Okay, so facing east, this is a top-down view of my neighbor's house and my house, and we were hanging out on the house at the right for a good while, and I went home that night, and it was around 4 in the morning, staying up pretty late, and I look up as I'm crossing the street, and I see this massive black triangle, which was clear and defined against the early morning sky, and it flew over virtually silently, and I ran inside the house to my sister's window, which is here, and from this vantage I could see further north, and I could see now this craft making its way along, and this time I could see that there were lights on it, which initially I did not see any lights below it or anything, but there were lights on the aft end and a light in the middle. So this concluded my night. I went to bed. I went to the library the next day, and I found this image searching for triangle UFO, and it was a pretty incredible moment for me because I didn't really think it was aliens or anything. This happened relatively close to Boeing in Washington, and I just thought it was a stealth blimp, which it very well could be. This TR-3B or whatever they want to call it, flying manta, is, in my opinion, just a big blimp. I don't believe that it's potential anti-gravity. It very well could be, but the next day we were talking, my friend and I, and all of a sudden we both were like, oh yeah, the triangle, almost in unison, and kind of compared our stories, and ended up being kind of sparking my interest in the UFO topic. I just thought it was a military toy more than anything, but it's still a notable experience. There's people that doubt the triangle even exists. I've seen it 3 different occasions. Nothing like the first time, but it certainly exists, and it's massive. I was afraid it might fall on the neighborhood. This thing from port to starboard was hundreds of feet long. It had to have been. So I know for myself this craft exists, and I lean to think that it is ours. I lean to think that it is some form of lighter-than-air craft, but it's still very interesting. Okay, so this next story happened several years back, probably 2005, 6. It was sometime in the summer, and I was working this job for a private client along with 2 other people, and our job was pretty much a huge overhaul of the property, including a large fence that went around the perimeter and this massive hole that we had dug to extract dirt to fill in and level out other parts of the property. The hole ended up becoming a compost, so it was kind of a win-win. It was a massive hole, and we had been struggling to beat the weather because it was forecast to rain, and we didn't want to have a swimming pool to deal with. So we're working close to 24 hours and getting a little bit of rest, micro-napping, in order to meet our deadline. So that night, we go to bed. We sleep on site at the client's little mother-in-law house they had, and I took the living room couch. Immediately turned the lights off, ready to go to bed. I'm staring through the dark, and I'm staring through this bathroom door that's opened, and it's dark in there. And out of that, about 1.5 to 2 feet off of the ground, comes this black rectangle, and it is hovering. It comes out of the bathroom, goes up and around into the kitchen, and returns to the middle of the living room. I'm sorry, it doesn't return there, but it ends up there. And it approaches me, and I see it coming, and then it slowly comes towards my face, and I essentially black out. I didn't know what to think of that. I know that sometimes the night can play tricks on our eyes. It could have been a hallucination due to being completely exhausted, lack of sleep, but I was napping. So I figured I'd share that with you all. It was a pretty interesting one for me, and I haven't forgotten it yet. So take that with whatever you want, and that concludes that story. When I was a kid, I played outside for the most part. Played a lot of Nintendo, but I was really outdoorsy. So was my buddy, and so we were always out in the woods building forts or doing whatever, riding our bikes and skateboards and just being active and getting the most out of the day. And whenever you're having fun as a kid and then the whole day flies by. I was pretty used to that, but there was one instance that we had that was a little extreme. So this event happened with the same person that witnessed the triangle with me. And it was a Saturday. My friend and I got together and we had made a plan to go visit our other friend who lived about a 20-minute walk away. But we rode our bikes, which really cut the time in half. We left at about 12. We got to the person's house and found that she wasn't even home. So we just kind of got on our bikes and headed right back to our house. On our way back, there was this really weird vibe. We both got this incredibly strange, almost ominous vibe. Something in our lives was missing, is what it felt like. And I started feeling it on our ride back up. And my buddy said, "Hey, I've got a really weird feeling right now." And I was just thinking that. And I confirmed with him that I did too. And I told him, I said, "It feels like I miss my family and something is wrong with the world right now." And oddly enough, not sure if it was really related, but the sky was a very juicy, purpley color, a violet. And it was kind of a weird weather anomaly, it seemed. It looked like the day was coming to an end, which I just thought it was maybe a storm rolling in. But we hurried back home, and when we got home, we saw that the time was almost 6 o'clock. It was about 1:15, and we left at noon. So I could account for us BSing or something for a minute and just taking our time on the way back. I would even give that an hour. Even if I gave it 2 hours, there's no way to account for the remaining 4 hours. I thought that was incredibly strange. We were both kind of blown away by it. But it's just one of those things that when you're presented with something like that, you kind of just toss it into some compartment in your mind because you can't really rationalize it. And it's still strange even today thinking back to it, knowing that it did happen and there was a witness with me who also experienced it. Sometimes we talk about it, it'll come up, but it's just another beautiful mystery in this world. That's all I've got for this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'd like to add that this is the first episode of this channel that I started. So if you could give me some support and like and actually comment some stories that you have or maybe you've heard from people. I'm trying to acquire a bunch of them that have never been heard before. There's too much disinformation and things of that nature and just spam in this whole topic. So go ahead and I'll read all of them. So if you'd like, I could take your story and come up with a couple drawings that best fit the description of what's being said, or give me your own drawings and I'll make a video out of whatever information you supply. I'd like to do a lot more of these videos. I have several other planned videos that I'm currently working on, but for now this is the first one of my Strange Unknowns channel. Keep an eye out for me. I think this channel has got some good potential, and I'd certainly like to see it grow. So please make sure to subscribe, and have a good evening.